Hello, Steve Reich, who celebrates his 70th birthday this year, has been one of the major players in contemporary music since the 1960s. His style of repeated melodic patterns set to a regular pulse has brought modern composition in from the cold, reaching new audiences well beyond the concert hall. Reich's work is defined by a technique called phasing, by which two identical melodic patterns gradually fall out of sync. He discovered this process by accident, but his skill at developing this idea into a fully fledged compositional style has marked him out as a composer of rare invention and originality. Where he has led, others have followed. Tonight, he talks about some of the key works that have made him arguably America's greatest living composer, including his latest piece, Daniel Variations, which received its world premiere in London earlier this year.
Steve makes inventions. He invents things. He makes discoveries.
I never stopped saying that without Steve Reich, I probably wouldn't have had an interesting composing career. You know, it was very much to do with ideas from his early work.
Many people, when they hear Steve's music, imagine that this is really kind of good time music and, hey, we're just going to lay back and groove our way through this. It doesn't work that way at all. It's very, very complexly organized. I used to say to Steve, I know when I truly have learned your pieces because they stop hurting. And I can just flow through them. I can almost hang glide my way through them, and then I'm happy.
When you watch a conductor conducting any of the great romantic composers, it would be impossible for the orchestra to play without him or her, because there is no fixed beat. There is no tempo that they can simply play out of their gut. Far be it for me to belittle Brahms or Mahler or Sibelius or any of the great romantic musicians. It's simply great music that means nothing to me. Absolutely nothing. As a matter of fact, if it's on the radio, I turn it off. If I'm in a room where it's playing, I ask them to please turn it off. If I'm in a dentist and he's got it on, I say, please turn it off. It's just, if that was what classical music was, I would do something else in life. The earliest memory I have is when I wasn't even, tall enough to reach the keyboard, just reaching up and playing what I realize now were fifths. This is on. Like that kind of interval, and singing what I thought of as cowboy songs.
Love is a simple thing. Love is a silver ring, shiny as a ribbon bow, soft.
My mother is a singer and a lyricist, and wrote "Love is a simple thing," and my father was a lawyer, and actually, while obviously the musical side was the crucial one, it's the blend of the analytical legal mind on the one hand and my mother's musical side. But I've come to understand over the years that I am definitely a combination. both in terms of the piano lessons and in terms of the recorded music that was available to me in the house and what I managed to hear on the radio, was basically a combination of Schubert Unfinished, Overture to the Meistersinger, Beethoven 5. Beethoven 5 is great, but that's the only thing that survived from that period. But I never heard a note of music before 1750, never heard any Bach before, and I never heard any music after Wagner. I never heard any Debussy, never heard any Ravel, never heard any Stravinsky. What I heard were Broadway shows, the Hit Parade, Bing Crosby, Frank Sinatra, but I never heard any real jazz. And at the age of 14, this all changed very suddenly. I had a number of friends who were musically inclined, and one of them played me the Rite of Spring. It seemed like the whole world changed color. I had never heard anything remotely like it. And it was just like some huge door opening up. Another friend who said, hey, you got to hear this, and he played me a recording of Charlie Parker and Miles Davis and Kenny Clark, the drummer, and bebop. This friend who played me that was a better pianist than I, was starting to play jazz piano. He said, what we need is a drummer. I said, I'm it. At that point, music became the dominant interest in my life. I wanted to become a composer, but I was afraid it might be, you know, Mozart had been 5, Bartok had been 6 or whatever, and here I was 16, 17, and I was thinking, you know, is this possible? And fortunately, I was studying at Cornell philosophy as a major and music as a minor with William Austin, the musicologist, and he encouraged me. He said, no, you know, don't think of it that way at all.
After finishing Cornell and the Juilliard School in New York, Reich headed to California to continue his composition studies and to get away from his father, who disapproved of his career path.
The divorce between my mother and father was not amicable, and here I was becoming her. And no, he was very, very upset about that, and actually we didn't speak for about 15 years until my picture appeared in the New York Times, and then I got a call, which is a good thing, but not really a good thing.
The prevailing trend in composition at the time was the 12-tone row, a technique that produced complex, dissonant music that had evolved from German Romanticism. The leading exponents at the time were European: Stockhausen, Boulez, and one of Reich's teachers in San Francisco, Luciano Berio.
Since everybody had to write 12-tone music, I did as well. So there are basic ways of writing 12-tone music. One way is you have a 12-tone row, the 12 notes arranged in some order, and you play them. And then you write them out in some order, and then you, what they call retrograde, you play them backwards. And then you take that and you invert it, and so on and so forth. And what I did was none of the above. I just repeated it over and over again. And Berio saw this, and he said, you know, if you want to write tonal music, why don't you write tonal music? And I said, you know, that's what I'm trying to do.